Your narcissistic parent wanted to keep you stuck in an infantilized state. They wanted you to be childlike always and permanently, which is why, as you grew older, they hated you. They basically wanted you to chase them for every single need of yours. They wanted you to let them be the ultimate authority, the decision maker, the person who decides what happens to you in all circumstances. But because that is not possible, because you are a human being and it was inevitable for you to grow into an adult, they became an entirely different person as your development reached its peak. They started abandoning you, they started neglecting you, or they started putting you down so that you could regress to that childlike state again and they can enjoy that control. Let's talk about this more in today's episode. I'm your host, Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional, and today we are going to discuss why a narcissistic parent wants you to stay young, stuck in an infantilized state. If that sounds interesting and you're eager to dive in deep with me, please make sure to subscribe before we begin, because as I always say, your subscription to the channel helps in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. Also, there is an exciting announcement for you. I am doing an online workshop on how to break a trauma bond with a narcissist in 5 practical steps. In this workshop, I'll talk about the primary trauma bond that you formed with your parent and how to recognize it. If you're interested in joining this workshop, you must know that it's happening on 2nd and 9th March. You can book your spot now by clicking the I button above or the link in the description of this episode. For as long as I was in contact with my narcissistic parents, I remember them treating me like a kid always. For example, my mother would say, "Oh, I see you as that 2-year-old, 3-year-old, no matter how big you are now." I thought she was being nice and she was being loving, because many mothers could say it without being narcissistic. But it was being said repeatedly, consistently. The narcissistic parent truly treats you like a child, like you cannot be on your own. But the crazy thing is, as they make you completely depend on them, they shame you for that dependency. They create it and then they make you out to be the problem. My father would intentionally make me fail in a task given to me by him. He would set up the environment and ask me to do something which he knew would make me anxious, because that is the programming. I would attempt to do it, and then in the middle of the process of completing the task, he would take that thing away from me or stop me from doing it, and there would be a smirk on his face. He would laugh it off and crack a joke. "Oh, you can't do it, you're not made for it." And that would leave me feeling so small, shame-filled, insignificant, and unworthy of any praise. I always felt incompetent without knowing where does that come from. Such parents would not let you make any decisions. You do not have any choice because mommy knows the best. Daddy knows what's better for you. To a certain degree, it is right, especially when you are a teenager and you're reckless. But I'm talking about an authoritarian, somebody who dominates your life, overshadows your personality and the expression of it. You're not allowed to even breathe without their consent. And they get to be the one to decide what you wear. They truly leave you skillless. I can tell you about my life. Until recently, my mother used to buy clothes for me. She used to decide what colors I should wear, what type of clothes I should wear, and then blame it on me and say, "Oh, you do not have a good choice in clothes. You don't have a better taste." They will on purpose not teach you basic life skills. For example, they won't teach you how to tie your shoelaces, and they'll do it for you all the time. And you might think, "Oh, mommy or daddy is amazing. They're doing this for me." But in reality, they're doing it for themselves. They're afraid that if you learn how to be independent, if you feel the freedom, you are going to go away, you are going to run free. That is not what they want. They want slavery. That is what it is. And that makes them your worst enemy. Even though they make it seem like they're your biggest friend, their intentions are to control you and those who come from you. Later in life, after programming you for years to depend on them, when the time comes to take major decisions, you feel insecure, you feel anxious, you feel uncomfortable, you feel like you do not have the skills you need to live life. Do you relate with that as a survivor of narcissistic abuse? Let me know in the comments. A person feels like they do not know what to do with all of this because life decisions like finding a partner, finding a job, working, dealing with people in general, it feels too much to do all at once. It's overwhelming, not only because of the trauma, but because of how incompetent they made you feel. As you grow and develop a self, they will push you back into a childlike state by inducing shame. They'll shame you for making choices. They'll call you selfish. They will want you to tell them everything. They will induce guilt and say, oh, see now, you have started keeping secrets. You are now making decisions. You are making choices on your own. And that means I am insignificant. That means you are disrespecting me. That means you're abandoning me. And that means you are a disobedient, ungrateful child. That creates a sense of obligation. You feel like you're obligated to serve the mother's false self, false ego, and the only way to do that is by restricting your growth, which eventually leads to becoming and staying a child even when you are an adult. In certain cases, such narcissistic parents stoop extremely low to maintain that control. For example, they will shower you. They will say, oh, you can maintain your privacy, but let me be there for you. I will teach you how to do it properly. They might feed you. That's crazy, isn't it? They will do everything for you in the guise of, oh, I care for you. I'm your mother. I'm your dad. I'm this. I'm that. But the truth is they do not want to let you grow. But they are afraid of your freedom. They do not cut that umbilical cord. Whenever you pull away, they pull you in, and you're back there at their feet, subservient, obedient, and being controlled through guilt. All in all, a narcissistic parent wants you to stay young. They want you to look for them. They want you to call their name repeatedly as if they are your creator, the ultimate, the Alpha and the Omega. They want you to praise them, adore them, admire them. They cannot tolerate you getting distracted by other things, such as your own choices, your own needs, your emotional needs. That's why it said, you are nothing but an extension, nothing but an object of gratification for such a toxic individual. That was it for today's episode. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, let me know in the comments. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.